Hey everybody, Andrew here at Pool Productions, and today in this week's video I'm going to show you how to close your above ground pools. Biggest difference from one above ground pool to the other is in general is just the skimmer. So I'm going to show you three different skimmers, three different methods of winterizing that skimmer. And start out with, first thing we want to do is make sure the pool is clean and make sure that the water is balanced properly. And then what we recommend is that you do the BioGuard winterizing kit, which is the Arctic Blue winter kit, as I've got here. And what this has in it is algicide and a shock. And what's different about these is that, first of all, the algicide is a killing algicide. Most algicides just prevent algae from growing. This one actually kills algae, and it's a long-term algicide. Also, the chlorine is stable, so it's not going to leave the pool water as fast as other like liquid chlorine would. So get started with the water balanced, pool clean, and then put your shock treatment chemicals in according to the directions. Let them rotate or circulate for a couple hours, and then we're ready to go. So the first thing we want to do is drain the pool. How do we drain the pool? Well, first of all, make sure the filter's backwashed. So we want to go ahead and backwash the filter first, and then we're going to go ahead and drain the pool down. I'm going to show you a quick, easy trick to draining that pool down. All right, so here we are. I'm going to get ready to backwash filter, and you're going to see me. Unfortunately, we're here at the store, and the shadow is right across from the building, across the pool, so I'm going to be in and out of the sun. So hopefully, you know, the video will still be decent to see. So first thing we want to do is backwash filter. So I got it turned off. Remember, always turn off before you touch your backwash valve, the multi-port valve on top. So let's get going on that. So I've undone the backwash hose. It's all laid out. Pumps off. I'm going to rotate my filter valve around the backwash. We're going to go ahead and turn on the filter. Alright, we're going to watch our sight tube. Alright, we'll watch our sight tube until it runs clear. You can see how dirty and nasty this one is. And let it run until it runs clear. Okay, so now the filter is good and backwash. We're going to go ahead and rinse it now. So we're going to turn the power off. Rotate our handle around to rinse. We're going to rinse it for about a half a minute to a minute and a half, making sure this water gets good and clear in the sight tube. Once that happens, then we'll be ready to drain the water down for winterization. Alright, so the water's lower, the filter's been backwashed. Now what I want to do is lower the water level. I want to get the water level about an inch or two below the lowest fitting. When I say the lowest fitting, what I'm referring to is whether the inlet fitting or the bottom of the skimmer, whichever's lower, I want to be an inch or so below that. Okay, so in some pools it's a skimmer, and some pools it's the inlet fitting. But how do you drain the water? Because your water level, obviously you're below your skimmer, you're not going to be able to suck and use the backwash or the waste function on the filter to do that. So you need to slide up a siphon to siphon that water out. I'm going to show you a real quick, easy way to do it. It works really good. You're going to start out by using your vacuum hose. Okay, and that's what we're going to do. So what I've got is I've got my vacuum hose hooked up just like I was going to vacuum the pool. So the vacuum hose is hooked up to the vacuum head and the pole, and I'm going to put it into the water, and I'm going to flood that hose hand over hand just like I would if I was going to vacuum the pool. Okay, so let me do that and watch as I do it. Alright, so I got my vacuum head into the pool, my hose. Catch this before it goes sailing away. Alright, so remember how to flood our hose. We want to go hand over hand, straight down. Straight down. My left hand is at the water level. Okay? And I'm holding that hose vertically and pushing it straight down into the water. Now I know a lot of people use the return fitting to flood the hose. You can do that if the water's high enough. You can go ahead and do it that way as well. But I'm just going to flood it hand over hand. So as you can see, we've got our vacuum hose hooked up to drain the pool. We've just got it draining. Remember, make sure you're thinking about really seriously is where that water's going, because you really don't want it to run towards somebody's house or around some other structure. So be careful where that is running. Don't let the hose be right next to the pool so it can wash out under the pool. So just, you know, get that far away as you can. And then, as you can notice, you don't see our vacuum hose sticking up. That's because it fell into the pool. So, you know, we're gonna have to get that out. So be aware of that, is when you're flooding that hose and you grab hold of it and you pull it over the top really quick, that the vacuum hole doesn't go floating out into the pool. So anyway, we'll get it out later. Don't worry about it, no big deal. We're gonna get that water down. We've got our chemicals in, circulated, we're balanced, we've backwashed, okay, and now we're getting the water drained down, and then we're gonna start unhooking our pump and filter and getting it ready for winter time. Hey, here we are back. Yesterday I got called away, and so I didn't get the pools finished closing, so we're gonna take off today, and I'm gonna pick up where we were yesterday and finish up closing. So just hold on. I'm going to show you the water level, what we got it drained to. So here we go. Take a look at the pool. And you see over at the skimmer return, there's the water level you're looking for. About an inch below your lowest plastic fitting. Okay? And so we're ready to unhook the equipment. We want to take out the aim flow, that's the directional on your return, get the basket out of the skimmer, that type of stuff. So let's go ahead and talk about removing the hoses and draining the pump and filter. So as I walk around here, and sorry for the bad production. Whoa. Okay, so there's your pump and your filter. You can see the hoses up to the pool. We're going to go over on how to unhook those, get those drained, and then go ahead and close the pool the rest of the way with the cover. Okay, so here we are at the pump and filter. So obviously this is your pump and here's your filter. Here's some tools that I'm going to use. 5/16 nut driver for loosening the clamps, pair of pliers, okay, a wrench, 9/16 for the drain plug. They may be different on your pump. All right, winterizing plug. This is a rubber expandable. We use this in the skimmer, and this is a threaded, 1.5 inch threaded plug wrapped with Teflon tape. So I've wrapped it. And a lot of people only wrap it like 2 or 3 times. That's really not enough. You want to wrap that thing about 8 times to a dozen times. You want to, when you feel that thread on there, it should feel a little bit spongy. That's how thick the Teflon you want on there. Okay. And then a couple other things that we have here is, you know, you could use a regular screwdriver. I have the power one. So, and then these are noodles. This is how we're going to use to protect the skimmer. And you can use solid styrofoam. You can cut blocks if you want to, but we do quick and easy. These are big fat noodles, and that we've cut. You can see this is one noodle right here that we've cut to the length of the skimmer, and then we've cut another one and split the side of it and hooked to it. So we've got a big diameter one and a short one that will go down the very bottom. This is for the throw of the skimmer, this is for the bottom housing. Made up the same exact way, but these are real convenient and easy to use, and everybody seems to have noodles around, so you can take an old noodle and cut it up and use that, but you're going to use this to fill the space in your skimmer box. So let's get going. What we want to do is we want to unhook all our pipes, and these are all 5/16. So you know, we're down below, we're going to have water in here, so I'm just going to loosen these up. Make sure they're good and loose. And you're going to get a little bit of water out that's inside the... Alright, I'm going to go ahead and unhook the rest of these and then come back to you, okay? Okay, here we are. We've got our hoses. You can see all the hoses are disconnected and pulled off. You know, you pull them off, there's going to be water in them. Make sure you hold on to your clamps for in the spring. Put all of that away. All right, so next is the pump. So make sure you unplug or disconnect your power. All right, so that's what we've done here. All right, I'm going to close that up for the winter. And then there's usually 2 screws that hold it to a base. If it's not, then obviously you can just pick it up. And I'm going to go ahead to loosen these screws up. All right. And what I like to do is I like to make sure I put those screws, right back in the holes they came out of, okay?
so that in the springtime you aren't looking for them, okay? And you're not questioning which hole they go into, because there's multiple holes in most of these bases. So we have both of those. We have our pump loose now, and if you look on the front of that pump, you see that plug? You want to take that winterizing plug out of there. So 9/16 or a big slotted screwdriver. Move these out of the way so you can see. Most of these have a little rubber washer, so make sure you get your rubber washer. That's what you got to use to seal it in a spring. If you got a rubber washer on your plug, you don't need Teflon tape. Okay, the rubber washer does the sealing. See the water draining out of the pump at the bottom? You want to take the pump and lean it forward and get all the water, because the point that does not have a drain on most above grounds is back here where the pump housing is. So you want to make sure all the water out of the pump drains into the strainer basket and then drains out of that bottom hole in the bottom. The other thing that you want to do is take your lid off, if I could get it off, and you want to clean that basket out, because this one's clean, so I'm not worried about it. But if it's full of junk, you don't want to leave the junk, you know, the leaves and debris in there, it'll rot and stink all winter. So after you got it all drained, all right, make sure it's totally drained. Then you can go ahead and put your plug back in for the winter, so again you don't lose it. The other way you can do it, a lot of times what we do is we'll drop the stuff inside the basket, and so that way what we take off the filter and the plug is inside that. So I guess I'm gonna go ahead and do that. All right, so we did finally get the lid off, okay, and here's the basket, so make sure it's cleaned out. All right, great place for storage so you don't lose your stuff in the winter time, because everything always seems to get misplaced. Winter plug for the pump, drop it in the basket. Here's all my clamps from all my hoses. I'm going to put all those in that basket. Put this back in the pump so I know where it's at. There's some more stuff I'm going to put in there. So the other things that I want to take off or do is I need to winterize the filter. All right, so to start with, your handle needs to be put on either a winter position, okay, or needs to be put in between two notches. So there's all these notches that say waste and backwash. If you don't have a winter position on it, just put it in between two notches. So I put it at the 3 o'clock position. Most Hayward valves will have a position that says winter on it. Either way, all it is raising that valve seat up so it allows the valve to totally drain. All right, so I want to take off a couple other things off the filter valve. One is the pressure gauge, so we're going to unscrew that. When you put this back in the spring, wrap it with Teflon tape. Okay, clean the old Teflon tape off and then rewrap it. If you don't, you'll build a ridge on that pressure gauge and you'll split that housing eventually. Okay, so make sure you clean that off. The other thing that you want to do to make that gauge last is pound it in your hand. You can see a couple of drops of water come out of it. That'll make that gauge last longer. Where's it going? In the pump basket. All right, then we have the sight glass. I like to take these off so they don't get broken. This is the sight glass for when you backwash. So we're going to unscrew that. And of course my hands are all wet. All right, and then when you get that unscrewed, empty a little bit of water out of it. But what's important is what everybody seems to miss. Stick your finger up in there, there's a rubber washer, okay? If you don't have this, come spring, when you go to backwash, water's gonna spray out this, okay? So there's a rubber washer that goes in first in the hole that the sight tube screws in on top of. So I like to put that washer right in the throat of that glass like this so I can remember where it goes, okay? Put that, again, in the pump basket. Last thing on the filter, what's most important, is to pull the drain plug, all right? And so that's real nice and tight. You might have to use your channel locks to get it loose. I've got this one loose. Some of them you'll have to put the pliers on, okay? And they have a big flat gasket in them, rubber gasket, and it stays in there. Where does this go? Again, pump basket, okay? All the stuff that came off the pump and filter in that basket, leave that in the pump. You won't have an issue in the springtime and you won't have to come in and go, I need a pressure gauge, I need a winter plug, can't find where I put it, because it's going to be in the pump basket. You can see our water draining out of the filter. If you have a sand filter, it's going to take several days for that to actually drain fully. Okay? So, let's let that drain for a little bit. I'm going to show you a few other things here. Okay, so here I am. I'm going to show you that valve. Notice it's in the winter position. It's at that 3 o'clock. But what's really important, if you don't have this position, it's fine. Just leave the valve in between any of these deep notches. So you could leave the filter valve just like that, and you're doing the same thing. Okay? The important thing is that that filter valve is unseated. All right? So I'm going to put it back. All right? What do we have? Everything in the pump basket, ready to go. So I'm going to put the lid on it. My pump's all ready to be stored. Take it in the house, put it in the garage, in the basement, store it someplace where you're going to remember where you put it. Okay? And then the other thing is, on the filter, you can do this. Some people do this. Some people worry about it. Sometimes they don't. But these ports that are from the backwash, from that sight tube, from these pipes, you know, openings, it doesn't hurt to duct tape over those, okay? Some people duct tape over them because they're worried about mice or birds or insects getting inside the filter. So it doesn't hurt to duct tape over those. The other thing that you can do is you can totally tarp the pump, or the filter, I mean, with like one of those blue canvas tarps, and that will help as far as keeping the UV rays off your filter for the next 5-6 months, and that will help, you know, maintain the plastic, keep the filter in a better condition and last longer. So, all right, so next thing I want to show you is the skimmer, how to winterize a skimmer. All right, so here's the lid. Oh, there's our dirty basket. We need to clean that out and remove that. So we're going to take this out, we're going to empty it out, and we're going to store that for the winter. Okay? And then the other thing is this inlet. How do we winterize the inlet? Well, let me show you on this side. Let's see, it's going to be upside down, but here's the aim flow, the directional. You're going to unscrew this. This needs to be removed for the winter. Okay? And if a little trick on these, when you go to put it back in the springtime, wrap that thread. You can see how we have Teflon on that thread? If you wrap that with Teflon, just this only needs like 2 or 3 wraps on it, because you're not really trying to seal it. What you're trying to do is prevent the plastic from the aim flow or the directional sticking to the plastic of that inlet fitting. So that's what you're trying to do there, is you're trying to prevent this. So you can see how easily I was able to unscrew that out of there. Okay? So now, how do we winterize that skimmer and this inlet? Well, we start out by plugging the bottom of it. Okay, so there's lots of different theories on how you should winterize the skimmer and the pool. And one thing that we do that we think is the right way to do it, and I'll tell you why, and why the other method that a lot of other people will tell you how to winterize it, that I think is wrong. So here's the issue. A lot of what happens is, as you can see the water level in the pool, well, when you put your winter cover on over that, and it rains and snows on top of that winter cover, as that water builds on top of the cover, okay, it pushes the water level in the pool up. It's going to come up because the water level on the tarp and the water level in the pool are going to be equal. So no matter how much water is on top of that cover, that is also where the water level in the pool is at. Okay, because they're going to be equal. That's, you know, that's law of physics. All right. So here's the issue: as that water level, that snow and that rain builds on the cover, you're pushing the water level in the pool up. Okay, and it's going to eventually run into the skimmer. Okay, or out the inlet. And some guys say don't plug them. Hook a hose, leave a hose on the bottom of the skimmer, and let that water drain out of there. That way you never build up any water in the skimmer and you don't freeze and break the skimmer or damage the wall. Well, yeah, that's true, but what's happening is that as the water's leaving the pool because of the water on top of the cover is getting tighter and tighter and tighter because it's going deeper and deeper into the pool because there's less water in the pool. So imagine if I drained a foot of water more out of this pool and put the winter cover on, the winter cover is going to be tight. And you don't want it tight, you want it loose. So what happens is that when you do that method, you're going to stand less risk of damaging the skimmer, but a lot more risk of ruining your winter cover. So this is how we get around not losing the water out of the pool and still protecting that skimmer box and that return. So here's what we're going to do. All right, here's that threaded plug. I showed you it earlier. I've wrapped it about a dozen times with Teflon tape, and that's going in that inlet where I just took the aim flow, the directional out of the pool. I'm going to put that in there, and I'm going to tighten it up with a wrench, not just a little bit more than snug, and that's going to take care of that inlet. So let's do that. Okay, so a little trick, a little know-how, take the plug, wrap it clockwise. If you're looking at the plug, that's how it's going to screw in. Wrap it clockwise with the Teflon tape. That way when you screw it in the plug or the fitting, it doesn't unwrap the Teflon. Okay, and stretch it a little bit as you do so. Alright, so real simple. Here it is. It screws in. You may have a rubber expandable that goes in here. I like to use the threaded plug. I feel that it's a more positive, not necessarily more positive seal, but less chance of it ever falling out. And then I'm going to take my channel locks. I'm going to snug it up. Alright, just well snug. Don't reef it. You can spin that fitting. You don't want to spin the fitting, so just snug it up. Okay, so that you know that it's water sealed and no water is going to come out of it over the winter time. Alright, so next, the skimmer. Okay, here's the skimmer. I got the lid off the skimmer. Right there's the lid. I've removed the basket and cleaned it. And this thing right here is called a weir door, and we want to remove it for the winter, and it just pops out. So I took it forward. You can see right down there, you can see how it just pops on those little nubs. And I'm going to go ahead and try to hold the camera and pop it out of here. Straight up and down, and there you go. You saw it just pop. I was holding that straight up and down. Weir door is gone. Okay, I want to take that for the winter time. Put that with my basket. Keep everything together. Not my pump basket, my skimmer basket. Aim flow with your skimmer basket, and that weir door with it. All right. So now, what do we need to do first? We need to plug this hole that's comes out the bottom of the skimmer that goes to your pump. All right. This is where I like to use a rubber expandable. And here I've got my rubber expandable. I'm going to put that in the bottom and tighten it up. So you got that going. Okay. Make sure that's good and tight. All right. So now any water, as the snow and rain builds up on the cover, pushes the pool water level to the same height, and it flows into the skimmer. It's not going to flow out the bottom and wash out underneath the track or under the skimmer, under the wall. You're not going to put more pressure on that winter cover. But now we need to protect this housing. This housing needs to be protected. And this is where my noodles come in handy. So what I've done, I've got my two noodles. All right. Here's my shorty. And I'm going to drop that straight down in there. And what the size-wise, we want that to be just a little bit up over that lip of that. Okay, just a little bit more than the lip. And then my longer one that I cut needs to be the same distance from the back of the skimmer to the opening in the pool. All right, and we're going to come to the face of the skimmer up here. All right, and we're going to push this in. You see it coming in. All right, and then I'm trying to do this one-handed. And then I'm going to wedge that over the top of it all the way back. Now you can see I've got that housing 90% filled with the noodle as well. You could cut chunks of styrofoam, but you can't use like little tiny pieces. They got to be big solid, chunks. Little pieces will float out of there and not hold. Now I want to show you the inside, but I got to come way over here. All right, so you can see. Now I'm going to zoom in on that skimmer. Okay, you see that noodle? It's all the way to the face of the skimmer throat. All right, so we're protecting the throat from the front of the skimmer to the back of it. Okay, that's how we're protecting it. Now here's the issue. There's one more little thing you got to do with that skimmer before the skimmer's done. Let me show you what it is, and I'll tell you why. You need to take the lid, all right? Obviously you're going to put the lid on, but we're kind of concerned that as water builds up in there, that noodle will try to float and it'll push up on the lid and the lid will come off. So what we like to do is put the lid on, all right? And we like to duct tape the lid on, all right? But you don't want a mess, so there's the kind of little method I'm going to show you how to do. I'm going to set the tripod up so you can see how I'm going to do it. All right, so here's the trick to keep it from getting a sticky, gooey tape residue skimmer. Take the duct tape, okay, instead of using the sticky side, start your first wrap with the sticky side out. You want to go down under the bottom of the skimmer, okay, come up, and you're sticking that now so that the sticky side's still up. After you've gone around one time, twist the tape, and now you're sticking the two stickies sides of the tape right to each other. So now there's not going to be any residue, or very minimal residue, left on your skimmer come spring. All you got to do is cut this off. And you want to wrap this 3 or 4 times to make sure that that skimmer lid does not come off. That is how you winterize your equipment and your skimmer and your inlet. Okay, now we have our pump. We've got all our stuff in our basket. I'll show you that. Everything is in the pump basket. Okay, we put it in our pump, put our lid on, take it inside for the winter, and you're all set. You'll know where all your equipment is. Do the same thing with your skimmer basket and your aim flow. Put them together and put everything in one spot. So in the springtime, I'm not selling 10,000 baskets or plugs because you lost them, okay? I know it affects the bottom line. My banker wouldn't like it, but we want you to be happy. So next, the cover, the last step. All right, here we go. All right, so here we are. This is an air pillow. All right, this is recommended on your above ground pool, and an air pillow does a couple things. First of all, it goes under the winter cover, and it keeps the winter cover elevated so the water that, you know, rain and snow is around the perimeter of the pool instead of as much in the center, okay? A couple things, there's holes in the corners where you could put strings and tie them off. I always have problems keeping the strings attached and tied to the sides, but it's not a bad idea. You can try it, see how it is with you. I get a little impatient, so I end up just pushing the air pillow underneath the cover after I'm done, or I do it as I'm putting the cover on. So either way, air pillow, it's really a must on above ground pools to keep everything going right. So in it goes, and cover's next. Okay, flashback. I want to cover 2 different kinds of skimmers real quick before I finish up showing you the winter cover. I didn't want to do that afterwards because I figured you'd shut the video off by now and say, I know how to put a winter cover on. Okay, so anyway, I want to show you 2 other skimmers. One is on a Century pool, the other's a Doughboy pool. A lot of Doughboy pools around the Jackson area. I want to show you using a winterizing plate on a Doughboy pool. So let me show you. The big thing on the Century is just getting the weird door off. Again, I'm going to swing around here and hopefully I can show you. So remove the lid. There it goes. All right, so weird door. We're talking about getting rid of the weird door, and on these they have screws on the front. Okay, so if you look right along here are 3 screws. 1, 2, and 3. Those are the 3 screws that you take off to remove the weird door. Don't take off the rest of them, okay? Just those 3. And a little bit of difference on these is you're going to put a plug. You're going to remove this screw that holds this flapper in and remove that, okay? And that's a little tiny screw right down here. Little tiny screw in that little piece of plastic. Remove this little rubber flapper, and then you're going to put a rubber plug in here, okay? At least I like to. You don't have to. It just allows water to come through the housing. But then you're going to do the same thing you did on the other skimmer, where, you know, you plug the bottom up and then fill it with noodles like we did. But next I want to show you what's really different on Doughboy if you do a winterizing plate. So let's show you how we do that. Okay, so this is a Doughboy skimmer, and Doughboy makes a couple different skimmers, but they basically all look the same. It's a larger skimmer with a square lid on it, and what you can see is that we've already taken the hose off and the lid and so forth. And I'm going to go around to the other side so you can see the face of it. Just make sure you know what you're looking at before you start tearing things apart. So that's what it looks like from the inside. Looks very similar or the same as the Century. They're actually, Century is made by the Hoffinger industry, which owns Doughboy, so they're actually identical. The housing's different, but the face plates are the same. So anyway, again, we're going to actually remove this skimmer right off the pool, and we're going to put on what's called a winterizing plate. And let me show you what that looks like. Okay, so over here I have the winterizing plate, and basically it's a big rectangular plate, and it says winterizing plate right on it. Okay, and it's cut out to fit over that skimmer opening. Alright, so let's get going, and we're going to remove the screws and pull the skimmer off. Okay, so let me show you what we're going to do. We're going to remove all of the screws. Okay, I'm going to zoom in. Let's see if we can get it to go. Yep, it'll take a minute to focus. Alright, so you see all the screws on the faceplate? We're going to remove all those screws, but what I want to do is I just want to loosen them up and get the skimmer off the back. I don't want to pull that faceplate out through the liner. I want to kind of leave that right in place and just loosen the screws and pull the skimmer back, okay, away from the pool, leaving that faceplate pushed tight up against the wall. That way you don't got to worry about the liner moving. That's the biggest thing. If you pull that plate off there, if that liner shifts, you're going to be in trouble. So we kind of want to leave the inside faceplate in place and just pull the back housing, the skimmer, off. So I'll show you how we're going to do that. Alright, so here I go. I'm going to remove my screws. I like working from the bottom up. And you can see our water level is about an inch lower than the bottom of this faceplate. What you can see is I've got these 4 screws remaining, okay? And I'm going to take the 2 inside ones out, and I'm going to leave those 2 corner ones holding the skimmer housing, and I'm going to get some help to hold the skimmer in place while I pull the last 2 screws out, and we pull that housing back away from the pool, okay? So I'm going to move the video so you can see the back as we pull it away from the pool, alright? Okay, so I'm going to take those last 2 screws out, and I'm going to have Gary come hold the skimmer while I do that. And again, we're keeping that faceplate on the inside of the pool. Alright. Alright, so now our skimmer's off. I'm holding that faceplate in place on the inside because I don't want anything to shift or move around. And in most cases, the gasket's going to stay right there. Now they give you gaskets with the winter faceplate. They give you new gaskets, but I don't use them. I use the same ones that came with the pool. I leave everything in place there, okay? And then I grab the faceplate, the winterizing faceplate. I line it up, okay? And as I do so, I use my knee. Gary, you're going to have to help me here. I need an extra arm. I'm going to hold that in place because, again, you want to hold this inside faceplate from moving around. There we get that first one lined up. right? So we got those two corner ones lined up and set. And you know, if that faceplate moves a little bit on you, don't freak out or anything. You're just trying to make sure that the liner doesn't move. So I like to try to hold it in place. Sometimes they move, sometimes they don't. All right, I'm going to continue and put all my screws on, and then that winterizes that skimmer. Now you don't have to worry about any ice buildup or protection of the skimmer. Haul it in the house and leave it inside where it's warm in the basement or the garage or something. Put all the rest of your screws in, and you're ready to go for the winter on a Doughboy pool. All right, so now you can see I've got these all back on here. One other thing I wanted to point out is that, you know, that little flapper we talked about where you plug your vacuum in, you probably don't need to remove that, but that's one more little edge that's sticking out where the ice can catch it. So I like to take it off. So we're gonna take that little tiny screw out that holds it. You gotta be careful you don't drop it in the pool. It's just that little small screw. Take that out. Again, put that with your skimmer basket, and so you know where it is in the springtime, and that way you got one less thing to catch the ice. All right, so that's how. Let's go over and show you how to put that winter cover on. Also about the air pillows on the winter cover, we'll cover that too a little bit more. Thanks. Okay, so I wanted to cover one other thing about air pillows, and that is if you have an oval pool, you need 2 air pillows. Okay, a round pool, one air pillow, an oval pool, 2 air pillows. Okay, and again, what that does is 2 things: it pushes the water to the perimeter in most cases, and the other thing that it does is it makes a thin spot actually in the ice, so that when the ice starts expanding, it expands inward towards that thinner area and then towards the outside to help protect the walls of the pool. All right, winter cover. You can see we've got our winter cover on here with our air pillow, and we've positioned it in the center. It's going to probably move around on you. Don't get all worried about it. You know, the wind's going to pick up and stuff. But here's the issue with the cable. When you thread your cable through, you have the 2 grommet holes that are close to each other. You want to go in the first and under and out. Okay, that puts the majority of the cable in the wider span between grommets, because you want the cable on the outside of the cover, not the underside of the cover. You want it on the outside. Again, on the outside, I'm going to show you that you want to pull it when it's tight. You're going to pull it and make sure that cable is tight on the outside, holding that cover on. Okay, so that's one of the little things. And then next thing is putting in your ratchet. All right. And a lot of people, what they do is they'll just start the ratchet in, you know, you put it in the hole on the end, okay, and then you thread it in this way, and then people start turning it. But you don't want to do that. You want to take all this extra out, okay? You want to take the other end, and again, you're threading it in the hole and through that hole that's in the turnbuckle piece, okay? You're pulling it out the center. So the common mistakes that people make is they don't pull all the extra slack out of the cable before they start ratcheting it. The other mistake they make is they'll run the cable from one end through the center dowel and then out the other end. You want to run it from one end through the center dowel and then out the housing this way, you know, and the other one out the same way, so that they're coming out the bottom. All right, you don't want to go back through that hole in the side. All right, so once I have my cable, I really want my ratchet in between these 2 wider grommets, so it has room to move. All right, so on the cover, you can see it off the pool a little bit. Okay, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tighten up my ratchet, tighten my cable up. Now, when you get it tight, I can tighten it a little bit. What you want to do is go around and kind of give it a pull towards your ratchet, because you may think you have it tight on this side. It's not tight on the other side. So what you want to do is grab that and pull that cable and then keep coming back to your ratchet. Look at how much slop I've got in here now for just grabbing those 2-3 spots. Again, tighten it up again. Okay, as tight as you can tighten it. And work your way around the pool, making sure that you're getting it tight. Okay, pulling it towards the ratchet. It's all lifetime. I'm getting more and more slack. I can feel it in the cable. If you don't get the cable tight, what's going to happen is it's going to blow off the first time we have a windy day. Again, we're going to go back over our turbo. Again, look at how much cable I've got again. That's my second time. Look how much I've got. So if you don't do that a couple times, it's not going to be tight and the wind's going to take it out. Alright, so a good thing to do is after a day or two of the cover being on, and you feel like you got it real tight, is come out again and readjust your cable and try to tighten it up again, because you'll be surprised after a day or two how much more you can turn that another crank or two to hold it. Alright, so last little trick to keeping the winter cover on, remember how we said that cable on the outside? Go to your verticals, okay? Pull the cable up over the top and pull that down so that that cable, first of all, isn't cutting into your vertical, and then second of all, that cable's tight up against the cover, holding the cover on. Alright? You're ready for the winter. You're all set. Good luck with your project. Good luck with closing the pool. Should only take you an hour, hour and a half to get it closed down. Good luck. If you got any questions, give us a call. 783-3067, 517 area code. Like us on Facebook. We've got everything you need in store, and we're open all winter. Thanks again. This is Andrew from Pool Productions.